duck, it's probably a duck.
Well, but
And so
a lot of churches do this, though. That's the point I'm
Right.
trying to make. Churches do exactly this.
But how is it
But
a dwelling
I'm
unit?
not,
How is
I'm
it,
not
a-
disagreeing, there's overtires.
I don't know how they get around it. Maybe they go to their board of zoning appeals.
how is it a dwelling unit if it doesn't have a kitchen in it?
Hotel
The mail
rooms-
isn't delivered there. They
Hotel
don't,
rooms don't.
Hotel rooms don't have kitchens in them.
no, okay, so they have, what do they have, a microwave and a coffee pot and?
They might not even have that.
Yeah,
Some don't.
Okay, well, okay. So if we go to, since the zoning code says churches or church-related, I think the word is related, but if we go to BZA, what are we going to BZA for? What are we asking them? 'Cause I don't care about, I'll go to BZA, that doesn't make any difference to me, but I'm not sure what we're going for, since these are not living units.
I can answer that.
Okay.
You will ask for a variance to section 116302, which is R1 Residence District.
Okay,
In a district, a church is permitted, but if you read down in section 5B, it says that only one single family, two family, and townhouses with a maximum of 4 units per building shall be permitted.
right, houses.
It's
Two-family houses.
Sleeping quarters or whatever, so.
But that district
But it-
doesn't allow hotels. I mean, if we want to,
There's
again,
nothing allowed.
it-
Hotel isn't
But it's
allowed.
not a hotel,
Yeah,
it's a
just
retreat
the
center for,
116302, that's what you ask some variance for, because what are you trying to do that is not permitted.
S-
And I checked with the law director, and he's
Okay.
in agreement with that, so.
okay. All right. So we'll go to BCA, okay, that's fine.
And also, I'm a little confused, I mean,
Yes,
is this an addition to an existing building, or is it a brand-new separate building that you are?
oh, it's an addition to the existing church, it's
But How
connected
do you
to
get
it.
from the existing church to this building?
You go outside to a
Or
courtyard,
you go outside?
and then from the courtyard, you can go into each one of
That
the,
makes it a separate building. If you
no,
go
it's,
outside,
it's not a separate building, it's
Oh.
connected to it.
I think we're gonna have an issue with that also. I mean,
Oh,
when
okay.
you come to the, for approval, I think that our planning examiner is gonna really ask some serious question about that.
Sure, that's fine.
You may have to put an egress from one place to the next to be considered, one building.
Well, that's fine, if that's what
You
it-
have to go outside and go around.
I have to say, in the beginning, when we first drew this, we had a door from the church into the retreat center, and we actually had a hallway that went all the way from the retreat center, all the way down to the fellowship hall. And the more they talked about, like, their planning of how the facility was going to get used, they thought it would be better if there was not a way for people that were in the church building to go in this hallway where there were doors in each one of these units, just because in the fellowship hall, there could be a wedding reception going on with people that don't have anything to do with the church. And they didn't want anybody to have the opportunity to go wandering around through when there may be a retreat going on that weekend when there's a reception in the fellowship hall. So they said, can we take the doors out? And I said, as long as you have a way to get to it. And they said, well, we're making, the reason the buildings are laid out the way they are is so that on the west side of the retreat center, which faces an empty lot, woods, it faces woods, and there's some huge, I think they're oak trees there. They want to create like a garden, a meditation kind of place. So that's why they wanted the door from the church to come into that meditation place, and then from there you can go into each one of the rooms. So a person could be in the room and say they're having a meditation, they want to go out and be with nature, so they could go out, they don't have to go back through the building, and if there's something going on in the fellowship hall, those people aren't coming out through there. So they asked me to take the doors out. So I did. I may have to go back to them and say, hey, we got to put the doors back in.
I'm just telling you, without the door, they may be considered two separate buildings, and you may have an issue with the planning examiner, I can tell you that right now.
well,
Sure.
you brought something up that's even raises a whole other question, because you're saying that if there's.
I'm good at making it tough.
If there's a reception going on in the fellowship hall, they didn't want people walking by those units.
Right.
So wouldn't, if there's a retreat going on, wouldn't they be using the fellowship hall?
No.
And wouldn't be,
No, the fellowship hall and the retreat center they don't share anything. They don't do anything together. The fellowship hall is totally a separate entity. Like I said, they could have the church could have a retreat, and the fellowship hall could be rented out for a wedding reception. So that's why we took the doors out to connect them together.
okay.
That's why the retreat doors, the retreat unit doors and the door from the church face that courtyard, and there is no exit to that courtyard from the fellowship hall.
So did you just say that?
I'm sorry.
The place could be rented out for a wedding or so?
Yeah.
Did I hear
that's-
that?
That's.
Yeah, the
exactly-
fellowship hall, it's a reception hall. Sure, it's a place of assembly. That's why we're sprinkling it, because it's over 100 people and,
Now that you've flipped
no, I haven't
Your-
flipped, flipped the unit,
the unit.
the building over, yes. Well, that was the thing, that we had the hallway in the first time, and then,
Safety purposes, I mean, you just made us walk around the entire building to go pick somebody up. We've got no doorways close enough, we'd have to either enter the church,
I don't
come back
understand.
out.
I don't understand, I'm
Something
sorry.
happens in one of the units,
Oh, yes,
and the only access is,
On the other
to
side.
come
The other
around the
side of the
building or go
building.
through the church.
yeah,
Okay,
through the church, out the door, yeah.
No matter whether there's a wedding going on or mass going on, if somebody needs to be treated,
oh, I see what you're
we gotta
saying,
come in and
sure.
come out.
Right, they would have to come around the back.
There's limited access right now. You've got a small sidewalk that comes around the front of the church.
Well, the civil plan, the engineering plan shows the fire lane going all the way to the back of the front of the building and all the way to the back of the building, so that,
You're right. And if
Right.
anybody falls down in front of their doorway from their room, it's still in the middle of the building, in the back.
I understand.
Nowhere close to the access that you gave us.
Well, there's no woods there, but,
You know,
yeah, no, I understand what you're
It'd be closer
saying.
parking next door and walk up.
Sir, do they?
So we need to put some more doors in.
Do they, to do the retreat center, you said it could be upwards of a week. Last time you said that there's been some cases where it's been a week.
It could be, but,
So if I want, and we established last time that it's not just for members of the church, it could be for outside folks. So, some agency may want to rent the facility and host some sort of spiritual or some sort of meeting or retreat at the church. And they may want their folks to stay overnight because it's late at night. So if I wanted to partake in that, do I pay a fee to be in the retreat that week or that weekend?
I
Is
don't
that-
know.
Yeah,
I don't know how it works.
maybe a donation to the church to use the facilities.
It could be, like I said, I don't. They asked for a retreat center. I didn't, we haven't had any discussions, or I haven't been made privy to, how it works, or the operation, or how they book it, or who.
Just
who-
refresh my memory from the last time we talked. What's the purpose of the private suite?
Okay, I'm gonna answer it the wrong way,
Okay.
to begin with. I'm gonna say, I don't know. Okay? Then, I'm gonna say, the two retreats that I've been to, the one I can most specifically remember, which was a marriage encounter weekend with my wife, we went to this place. It was a Jesuit retreat house down, I think, in the Portage Lakes area. You went there and met in a group setting, and I think there were probably maybe 30 couples, I don't know. And several people that led it, and a priest, maybe two of them, I think, there might have been. And we spent several hours together. This was on a Friday afternoon. Yeah, it's really funny right now, I don't remember eating anything, but I'm sure we did. But it was Friday afternoon, Friday evening. There was a meeting with several guest speakers. time together. Then we were dismissed, and my wife and I went back to a room. The only thing I could akin it to was like a dorm room. And everybody did, all the couples went. We went down this one hallway, and it was just dorm rooms. And we spent the night. And there was only one twin bed, so every couple had to sleep in a twin bed, and it was part of the marriage encounter thing. And there was I think there was a bathroom there in the unit, but there might not have been. It might have been group bathrooms. This was,
Yeah.
this
It's
is,
okay if
this
you
was
don't-
45
it's
years
okay if you
ago.
don't know.
But anyway, the next day, we got up. I know we had something to eat in this room together.
Yeah.
We had more time as a group. Then we went out and communed. We were able to go anywhere on the property. We had notepads, took notes. We spent time apart. We came back together. We did that several times.
Yeah, I did that
The next
same
night,
thing.
we did the same thing, and then Sunday, we had a worship service and music, and then we left.
I did that same thing as well, at a hotel, but,
Yeah.
okay, I was just curious.
But like I said, how this works and how they plan it and how they do it and who they rent it to and what the itinerary would be and all that kind of stuff, I have no knowledge of it at all. They just said this is what they wanted. And like I said, the first time we did it, it was flipped over and there was a hallway.
Yeah.
And the last time we met at the property to discuss that plan, Pastor James asked if we could flip it over and have the doors access this courtyard and then have the private access out of the church to that courtyard. That's how everybody went in, and eliminate the ability for anybody to get to those units from the fellowship hall. So.
Yeah. So I just want to be clear for the record, for the planning commission's sake, I don't think I'm misspeaking. So the commission is not opposed to an expansion of the church. The issue is that it's our belief that this piece of it doesn't comply with the R1 single-family zoning district. And in no way is the commission opining that or believes that federal law for the protection of churches is being violated in any way.
I understand,
in this
sure.
instance. So I would suggest the commission continue the item until the issue is cleared up with the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I have before you vote on that or whatever, I have a request that I heard in the last, not the last one, but the item before. It was something about the preliminary approval, I think, so that the client could go to their lending institution. That has been the church's primary request to me when I meet with you folks, because their construction loan financing has requested the preliminary approval from this board.
Well, let me ask you a question. If, and maybe you can't provide this answer, if the Board of Zoning Appeals does not grant the variance necessary to utilize the space as designed, what would happen with that space?
Okay, first best answer, I don't know.
Yeah.
Second is, they may, well, I guess the question would be, is there a way for them to be able to do what they want to do? And if we can't find that way, then they would probably abandon that part of the project and just move forward with the fellowship hall.
I don't think, I'm not gonna speak for all of us, but I don't think anybody's opposed to the fellowship hall. I think it's the issue of the
Right, that's,
units, however you wanna phrase it, that's the issue that I think is had at this point. It's not the fellowship hall whatsoever, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, so
no, right, that's, I mean,
I don't know how, you,
It's tough to give a preliminary approval, we don't know
Yeah.
if
I would agree.
half the project is allowed to be there, or will be allowed. If we had that, or if that issue wasn't there, I'm sure, I feel like we could give a preliminary approval, but I think with that third of or half the project, not,
okay, I have a question then,
Yeah.
since we're theorizing on things. Supposing I said, let's take that out of it. We're gonna withdraw the retreat center and just do the fellowship hall.
is the fellowship hall then gonna be pulled closer to the existing?
I kind of doubt it.
So it'll be where you still would have to walk outside to get to that, there wouldn't be any kind of a connection?
Well, there isn't now, so.
Well, there's nothing there now.
No, I know. No, I know that, I
You would
understand,
still
but
have
I
to walk
don't,
outside now, under the current plan, is what you're saying.
yeah, but I don't see that that based on the reasons they had me take the doors and things out for the connection, that the fellowship hall has to be contiguous to the church.
I don't know how we go about that, I mean,
And if it's gonna get delayed another month, that's okay, I'll let them know, and the only thing that'll change is that it'll blow up their whole schedule, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean,
'Cause they gave
I'm
me-
not comfortable recommending anything other than continuing the case till the issues
I would agree, I mean, all the
on
plans,
paper is shown.
yeah, all the plans show this, I don't,
Okay.
Was there anything else you guys had on this one?
I agree.
Well, based on that, I'll make a motion to continue this. Geez, they're not gonna get on this BZA.
That's on
gonna be-
Friday, I think.
Friday to get on the December.
Hey, we made it the last time, I'll kiss my wife goodbye after you read my note. We may not make it to 56.
I'll make a motion to continue this to the December meeting.
I'll second that.
And I believe I heard you say, Mr. Chair, at the applicant's request to be able to seek a variance through the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Yes.
And then if you can't get back in December, we can continue, we can take it off the agenda next time and continue it to January.
To January, right.
Yes.
And just send a note into the administration asking for that.
Is there somebody at the BZA that can help us just, I don't know how to write up what we're asking for, because I don't even know what I'm asking for yet. To
Yeah,
just
so-
say, hey, I want a variance to R1, that doesn't
You're
really.
asking for a use variance to permit something other than residential. We can't tell you how to write it up. because
No,
It's a legal case, really. It's a court case.
Right.
So that's but effectively what you're asking for.
A variance,
A use variance.
a use variance,
To allow it for, in this instance, multi-residences, multi-living units, as defined by the code.
okay, all right, okay, thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Now I can get up, huh?
Yes. You can prove it.
Thank you.
Pretty hard.
You want me to go through my comments?
If you got time.
Yeah.
Okay, then bring the next applicant up. That's it. Bring the next up, that's Nordonia Landscape Supplies.
How you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
I do have updated drawings. We did update drawings based on some of the comments that we received. I don't know if you want, we have cut sheets on the lighting fixtures. I don't know if you're interested in that.
Can we, real quick, get who's with you tonight, or who's here?
Yeah, I'm Sean Thompson, TMA
Okay.
Architects.
Dan Bersikowski with MG Civil Design.
Okay. Are you guys, let them do the most talking. Just to keep, Mr. Francis gotta take off here in a minute.
Okay.
But he was gonna try and go over his comments real
Yep.
quick before he has to go. She's coming back in a second, but.
Did she get one?
Oh, did she get one yet?
No.
No, I'm sorry.
I haven't.
Go for whatever, you can do.
So you guys saw my comments. Yeah, so my report dated November 10th. The building is about 10,594 square feet on 2.86 acres, divided into 5 units. Generally, all the units are sort of industrial in nature, except the one unit is proposed to be, unit 5, as retail warehouse space, and it has a, like a cashier station. So the way the code reads, you can, so it's zone general industrial, and within general industrial, retail is permissible, but the type of retail is, it's more like garden centers, lumber yards, things like that, or auto, like car sales, things like that. This is probably not that. The code tracks back to the limited industrial district, which also allows retail, which I think this is probably more of. And I define it out in the use description, saying that generally sell a single product line requiring a large floor area for the product or service to be sold. Businesses occupying or intending to occupy an existing industrial building or proposed industrial building. And they generally don't need to associate with other retail businesses like in a shopping center. So basically, this is an out to allow retail in the limited industrial district in a limited basis as a conditional use. I don't think this is a lumber yard.
No. In fact, Chris could probably better describe it. I mean, the retail portion is a relatively small aspect of it.
Yeah.
But reading down through those three, you know, they do sell a product line, you know, they're selling, you know, landscaping supplies, bulk gravel, bulk mulch, stuff that doesn't set up for, you know, like an aisle in Walmart. So it doesn't set up for an indoor retail kind of piece, which is item 1.
And that's the bins.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so, okay.
And so it is going into a kind of industrial building. It's in, you know, it's in that industrial area. It generally doesn't, for marketing purposes, work with any other retail businesses. It's all standalone piece. So I think we do hit those first 3, so it's really up to then the planning commission for item 4 if you believe that that's compatible.
Yeah, which, that's sort of aligned with or comports with the general industrial district. So the point is, you'll need a conditional zoning certificate when the time comes
Okay.
for whatever that user is. You need to come back to the planning commission and get a conditional zoning certificate and identify who the user is, what the square footage is, what, you know, what they're doing, business operation, hours of operation, all that stuff goes into the conditional zoning certificate. It's not necessarily, it's not a problem, it's just another step for whoever that ultimate user of that space will be. Fair enough?
No, and that's fine, and the user of that space actually is Chris.
No,
So-
okay. So Chris, you'll have to come back and get a conditional zoning certificate at some point in the future.
Do we see any issue with that conditional use permit being issued?
Well, I mean, generally, I don't. I mean, it falls in line, but the outdoor storage has to be approved. And you saw the comments in my report. So that has to be approved.
But that
And-
conditional zoning goes to BZA, not to this board,
No,
right?
it comes here too.
Oh, it does come here, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So generally, no, but we'll want to know more details about what it is. So, yeah. So in the analysis then, so that's the use issue we worked through. We need to get a conditional zoning certificate. Then on the preliminary plan, we do have, side yard setbacks, and you've noted on the plan, there's some deficiency, with the setbacks. Now, the planning commission can approve a reduced setback with basically really planned screening and such. So, I don't have an issue with that, but I wanna see a really thought through, you know, landscape plan that screens the area from view. And then parking, just noted that really 20 parking spaces are needed, 21 are provided. We get to the same number, just how you get there is a little different, and I laid it out. I won't bill you for that information, you can cut and paste it on your plan, but that's how you get there. And it looks like you have enough parking, just have to put it on the final plan. And then off-street parking in the side yard, under 1171-11E2, you can have it, it has to be screened, same thing, we just need to see how you're gonna screen that stuff. Then 1171-11E3, the maximum drive apron at the property line is set at 36 feet. It looks like it exceeds that, 36 feet. So you just have to correct that in the final plan. And then, as you probably heard earlier, gravel's not permissible for your outdoor storage area. So either you have to get a variance or it needs to be hard surface. Don't need to talk anymore about landscaping. There's minimal landscaping on there. We'll be looking for a landscape plan. I would suggest you have a landscape architect prepare that plan. And that's will help with determining the impact with the outdoor storage. Sounds like you have cut sheets. Your future plan will need to have a revised photometrics plan.
That's in that set as well.
Good.
I apologize for the size of it. They took our draw sheet and reduced it
They
down.
just shut it down, yeah. Half-foot candle at all property lines, preferably no bleed, but
Yeah, so when you say half-foot candle as a maximum, because I think we are showing like 0.1 at the property lines,
yeah, half is maximum, so.
so
So
0.05.
No, well, 0.5 foot candles.
yeah,
Okay.
point
So if you're 0.1,
Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
Yep.
Except for
Okay.
toward the
Yep.
front.
If you meet it, that's good.
okay.
Yeah, it was hard to tell. I had some comments about architecture. I know Pam probably has comments, I believe, as well. Metal buildings are prohibited, so that's probably the biggest thing for you to overcome. So it needs, in my opinion, significant improvement to the architecture, more fenestration, ornamentation, and then either utility brick or a cementatious product, but not metal. And then stormwater management, you work through the engineer, but given that the pond that you conceptually show is right out on Highland, I would strongly recommend you do something to make that a feature. If it's gonna be a wet pond, make it a feature, or have a fountain, a light, or something, so it shows well out on the main road.
Other ponds do in that stretch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, generally, like I said, on the other plan, it shows enough that I think preliminary plan approval is fine. The devil's in the details, for the final plan approval, and you'll need that conditional zoning certificate.
I have one just easy, simple question. For screenings, when you talk about screenings like by the outdoor use, if it's woods on both sides, I heard this gentleman speak earlier, and you can't see it from the road, do we want to do redundancies that would be,
Yes.
would actually take away from the woods that are actually there?
Well, so if you're proposing not to touch any, if there's woods that are on site, you can document those existing wooded conditions, document what you have there.
Okay,
What are the caliber, what are the species, and then if they're on your property, not someone else's property,
Right.
then I think that's fair play to use as part of your landscape plan. The commission can say otherwise, but, and then you would wanna have some kind of a conservation easement or something that documents it's never gonna go away.
okay,
Because, just say there's woods there, or woods on an adjacent property isn't
Right.
the metric or standard to measure by. But if there's some safeguards and conditions in play, it's good quality woodlands.
right,
And they provide a nice screening.
Correct.
And there's a way to preserve them, then sure,
Okay.
I would be open to that, and if the commission finds that acceptable.
So some of these, if I could, I can tell you, we did address these in the revised drawings in front of you. Some of them we did actually hope to discuss, even if it's just to get some direction. We did update the landscaping plan. We showed screening around the small HVAC unit that will serve the office. The rest of the building is just gonna have radiant tube heaters, so there will be no exterior equipment. So we did do that. We did add some landscaping to block the parking on either side and the bins in the back on the east side. We did have a question because we just could not find it, the requirements. I know other cities have it. We could not find the requirements for dumpster enclosure. I mean, we did put the dumpsters behind the building, and we did add landscaping to block them from the west. So we were taking all efforts to block them from view of any public area, but we couldn't find anything else in the code that talked about specifically dumpster enclosure. So if you can just tell us where to
Yeah, so
look.
accessory buildings just have to be
So-
design compatible with the main building.
So the dumpster enclosure is
It's
considered an
accessory
accessory structure? Okay.
Yeah, so it just needs to be compatible with the architecture of the main structure. These have 3 walls and gate, and generally be made of the same material.
Okay. Dan, did you want to ask about one of our questions too is about the apron and the drive width?
Yeah, so the question is, typically I usually look at ODOT when when the driveway width is mentioned. Normally, that's the width of the driveway past the radius or at the PC of the curve. And I guess the question is, given that we're gonna be having semis driving in and out of this site, I think if we were held to the 30 feet at the right-of-way, our radii would be extremely small.
It's 36 feet in width at the property line.
Oh, 36 is the maximum?
At the property line.
So, when I drew out the geometry of this driveway, in my opinion, this was the smallest driveway needed to get a semi in and out of there safely. So the question then would be, would this be a variance we'd have to go to BZA for, or is that something that could be granted from this
So what are
board?
you at the property line? What's your width?
I actually don't have it dimensioned, but it is over 36.
Yeah, then it would be a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay.
And you put it in auto turn?
I didn't do that yet, but I mean, just in my experience of semi trucks, normally you want at least, we could do the, if it's 140 and 128 with the 30-foot driveway, the semis can get in and out freely. Are these semis coming from any one direction by chance? And they are full-size semis, right?
No, they're really not. So when you speak on semis, you say semi because I don't know, a lot of people don't understand what a straight truck is. So a straight truck is usually a tandem axle with 1, 2, or 3 drop axles. So the overall length is 24, and then the nose on them is probably 20, so I guess they'd be 50 foot, but it's all, we do have 2 semis, but majority of our fleet is a single unit. So they're Class B CDLs, if you guys are familiar with that, instead of a combination vehicle, pivotal in the middle semi that you see going down the road with a 54-foot trailer behind it. Does that make sense? Like our longest trailer is only 28 feet long.
Yeah.
So they're short, they're for hauling materials. They bring in our topsoil, they bring in our mulch, they bring in our sand, they bring in our stone, that's what they bring into the yard.
So it's specifically 36 feet at the property line in the code, that's clear. The only way to go past that or go around that is going to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Now, I would put it in auto turn and see if you can make it work.
Yeah, I'll get his specific truck,
Yeah.
and I'll be able to run
Yeah,
it
put
through
it
there.
in there and, yeah.
And I have a feeling we're gonna need a variance, so.
And if you do, then,
Yeah, and it maybe is something we could be supportive of, but to Brian's point, we want to run it through the proper procedure. We can't just, love to give you the permission on the spot. but- So, yeah.
So we talked about the dumpster. So the metal building piece, one of the things that we did do, the last page, the last 2 pages in this revised are, XX1 is just some reference sheets that shows what the lot looks like now, and XX2 just shows some other existing buildings that are all basically in that same area. And I guess, I don't know, is that something again for BZA or is that to planning commission? But we felt like we were kind of true to what else was going on Highland Road and specifically in that neighborhood. And then lastly, I think, and this is maybe beyond, because this was on the architectural comments as well, that perhaps the 3D view did show, this large expansive green roof. We did add a ground level, what you would see coming into the lot, and like, there's really not, this is on the upper corner of A4C. Just if the issue was the prominence of all that green roof, which shows up clearly in the axon, but we did do a view of actually driving in from the street, so that green roof is really not nearly as pronounced, I guess. But wasn't sure if that was an issue for this group.
We ultimately have to decide on that, but we do rely on our reviewers.
And I think those other buildings you had shown have actually been there for quite a period of time, so.
The exception of the First Energy building. That should be shown.
Is it the first building there, the first corner,
The third one in.
top left? Oh, got it.
I think that was within the past year.
About a year and a half. But that's the other side of town.
Correct.
Right.
Personally, I'm not a fan of all the metal on the building. I think it needs to be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. Those guys have been with the other landscaping company that was here earlier today. They went to a great deal of effort to really make their building look nice, and that's actually less visible than what this would be from a visibility perspective.
Mr. July, do you have? Yeah, I do have a memo prepared here for tonight. There's, assuming that most of you folks have seen it already, so I'll paraphrase my first comment. It looks like you've already done a wetland delineation of the site, and you've shown it in the green hatch here on this, on the drawing that was submitted, and that's great. Thanks for doing that in advance. I just asked that you submit that report by whatever wetland scientist did it for you, along with your next submittal, or you could submit it tomorrow even if you have it, it's fine.
Okay, we do have it, Cindy Paschke prepared it, so, with Land Solutions, so.
Okay, no, yeah, if you could submit it to Susan, please, that'd be great, so. We have it for the record, obviously, whatever permitting you might need from the Army Corps, we'll need to see that as well. So it looks like a little part of the building will fall into the wetland, and most of the detention pond will fall into the wetland, and a little part of the parking lot, and maybe some grading as well. So please pass both of those things along as you have them. You show an area for stormwater detention. Thank you. One of the applicants earlier didn't have it on there, so appreciate that. Dan, I'm sure you'll provide the detailed calcs on that when we get to that point in the process.
And going back, just since you brought it up, we will put a fountain feature with the
Yeah.
light on it. We added that, and it will be a wet pond, so
Okay.
it'll look nice.
Yeah, that'll be great. The other ones on that stretch also are wet ponds, and most of them have a fountain, I believe, so. So that'll look nice for the corridor. We appreciate that. Gravel's not allowed as a parking lot surface. Brian already touched on that, so I won't beat that up anymore. The parking lot does need to be curbed. I see that especially on the east side, it's showing parking bumpers, so that kind of leads me to believe that you weren't planning on curbing the parking lot, but we do ask the parking lot.
So that was another one we had to question because the code said curb or parking bumpers. And so we went with the parking bumpers, but if there's another place that, because we're gonna, at least down that east side, I mean, everything's gonna slope, and Dan could talk more to this, but it's gonna slope down into the, we'll collect the water and take it to the detention basin, so water won't flow east off the parking.
Yeah, I want to say that the specific part of the code mentioned to protect pedestrians from the parking lot.
Why don't we handle it this way? We don't have to solve it on the spot. If that part of the code that you're referring to, can you send it to us?
Yeah.
Show us the exact code or chapter.
Well, that'd be, and if you have if there's a different section that you are citing,
That'll initiate the back and forth.
yeah, very good.
All right, let's do
Appreciate that.
Yep. Water is Cleveland Water. Gotta get your permit there. There's a hydrant you're planning on relocating. Cleveland Water will have to approve that as well. And fire, although you're probably not moving it too far, so hopefully that won't be a problem. Sanitary is Summit County DSSS, so your permit will go through them. A couple other things. I noticed that the storage bins on the east property line that you're proposing appear to fall within an existing ingress-egress easement. I don't really know the terms or the purpose of that ingress-egress easement, but typically you can't place a permanent structure in an ingress-egress easement, so I'll let you guys work through that or provide us whatever documentation you need.
So our understanding is the bins are a temporary structure, because they're made with the concrete bin blocks. And it is an access easement, and we are maintaining access through this property to if I'm correct, it's an access easement to the property that's directly north of this.
Okay, but if the bins are in the way, then assuming somebody currently somebody drives along this 30-foot access easement to get to the property to the north, if these bins are in the way, they can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's driven on that 30-foot, because it's almost,
Yeah,
it's
whether
not
or
navigable right
Whether or
now.
not
But
they actually do, I don't know, but there is the easement in place.
And is that, I mean, I'm assuming, is that something that he can take up with the people who the easement is granted with, to say,
Yeah.
hey, we're gonna maintain that you have
Probably.
access to the back?
Yeah, so.
We tried to address it, and one of the reasons why we were, again, looking for the variance is to try to give him enough room to safely turn vehicles and access all those bins. And so we were just trying to
I
squeeze every
understand
inch out of that as we could.
That's not where I'm going, though.
No.
My point is, the easement is there.
Yeah, I understand.
Presumably between two or more property owners. It legally exists, so we can't just arbitrarily cut it off, I guess is my point. So whatever you guys need to do to revise the easement with whoever else is party to it, or however that works, but there needs to be some solution, right? We can't just give you an approval knowing that the easement exists and you're placing all of these bins right in the middle of it. So. And then, that's it, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kales?
The city ordinances with the yard hydrants, continue with the 300 foot in between hydrants. How deep is your lot? It's,
Almost 600 feet.
yeah,
Yeah.
585.
yeah. And how combustible is your storage back there? In your bin?
Zero.
Zero.
No, not at all.
So somewhere around the back of your building at 300 feet, whether it be on the side by the truck scale or it be the corner of your building, that would be a
Your hydrant?
yard hydrant 8 inch in.
So there are two hydrants on that eastern property line, but they are actually in Twinsburg Township or Twinsburg City Formal. So would we not be allowed to use those? So we have to literally run another hydrant right next to their hydrant?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Unless you can buy that part of the easement.
No, it's not in the easement, it's on the property line.
Right.
So mine is the last property in Macedonia.
Yes.
The next property starts Twinsburg City.
Right.
And there's hydrants down that easternmost part. So if there was ever, if God forbid there ever was something that was combustible
Right.
over there, or a fire was to break out, those hydrants would not be accessible to Macedonia?
Is there any way we can get to them from your driveway?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, like the driveway, I mean, literally, the driveway would be here, okay, the end of the driveway would be here, and that hydrant is where the door is, so that the hydrant would be 10 feet, less than, possibly, actually, probably less than 10 feet away from my drive-in.
I don't know.
Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes sense, but it
Okay.
doesn't make sense. You're gonna have to come up with your own.
Okay.
And that's because of the outdoor storage to the back of the property, is that?
No, that's just basically Macedonia ordinance, new buildings coming in with 300 feet in between hydrants if you're building a new construction.
The reason for that also is that if they don't maintain the hydrant, we can't cite somebody else to fix your hydrant, so it has to be your own.
Good point.
So we have to put 1 yard hydrant, is that what you're saying? Okay.
That one hydrant I'm seeing here in Google, that's not on your property?
To be honest, it's not, I don't wanna lie. It's literally,
Just
like I said, it's a stack of
I mean,
hydrants on top of a
I'm
hydrant.
just looking at Google, but it looks so
Right.
far away from their driveway.
It's closer to my
It's-
property than it is to their property, if that's what you're asking.
It's probably 5 foot off the line,
Okay, I said 6.
the property.
Yeah.
That's why I said we're gonna be stacking a hydrant on top of a hydrant.
Am I not looking at the right spot? Am I in the wrong area? Is this, so there's,
Yeah, that's the one we're relocating.
okay. Okay, so
That one's mine.
Okay, that
Our
one.
driveway's gonna come out
Right.
there. You
that's in the
can't see
driveway.
it, but they have them going
That's
back
this-
along
that's
this,
this one here.
this property.
That's
line.
that one.
okay, and you're saying there's
The
one,
ones he's talking
there's
about
one
are down
over.
this line,
Oh,
just
down.
off of that driveway.
It's literally like probably,
Okay,
if we took an educated guess, it's probably right here.
okay, but just into there.
Yeah, but it would be,
I see.
it's closer to my
Sorry, I thought
property.
you were still talking about that.
Yeah, it would be closer to my property and my building than it actually is to their building next to me. They'd have to take a longer hose to go to their building than they would to go to my building. I mean, that's, if you're asking the truth.
So I guess question to the chief, that hydrant that we do need to relocate, do you have a preference which side of the drive it's on?
Don't make it greater than 300 feet from the previous.
Okay, we'll have to go out and figure out where the,
Next one's.
Where the
So if
next
the one
one
is
is.
right on Highland Road. and we just-
Highland Road, Macedonia side. So Highland Road
so we're gonna go to the west
closer
side.
to,
Yeah,
Go to the west side's gonna be
Yeah.
closer?
yeah, go
Yeah.
west.
Okay.
and is there a requirement how far that hydrant has to be from the building? Or do you care?
No, I think minimum, I think it's gotta be 5
5
10
feet? So would you be okay with it being towards the front of the building?
I would prefer it at the 300-foot mark, which is kind of like the end of your building.
And in that case, it's gonna be in that landscape?
Could you
It's
put it
gonna
on
be
the
an
other
easement.
side?
You're not gonna be able to come through the pond. On the west side. So it's gonna have to be on the east side.
It's
Well,
gonna
the
be in
problem
the
is-
easement. So we'll have to sort that out.
It can be right on the property line, right? The hydrant can be on the property line?
No, I think it'll have to be.
No, there's gotta be some kind of easement associated with that. Some kind of setback. What's your normal setback for the utilities?
I would think I would think the hydrant and the line would have to be 10 feet from the property line.
You guys might be able to eke it in just at that corner by where, right at the edge of that easement. I mean, there's not a ton of room, but you might be able to
Oh,
get it
yeah,
somewhere
here.
like right in here on the edge
Next to
of
the
that.
scale.
Where they'll hit it with a truck.
Yeah, the truck
I think the
scale.
hydrants are less of an issue than the bins, but.
I mean, if that scale just that way, just a hair to then give you a little bit of clearance.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
It would get it out of that
We'll make
30
that work.
foot.
That's not an issue.
You planning any alarms at all? I know you're not planning sprinklers, but are you planning any kind of alarms?
Right now, we were not.
All right, any more comments from,
I just have a question. Is mulch or any other material that would give smell part of your exterior storage there?
It wouldn't, we're not producing, we're not manufacturing. And literally, the mulch turns over, probably, that's why when he asked if it's combustible, if mulch is stacked in excess of 30 feet tall, then it would become combustible, spontaneous combustion, but it's stacked 8 feet tall, 6 feet tall, and the product turns so frequently that there's never time for it to really ever amount to anything, to be honest with you. I mean, as fast as it comes in, it goes right back out, to be honest.
Because in other cities, we have that mulch and we have restaurant close by and the smell is just unbelievable.
Yeah,
So
there's
we
no,
just
there's
wanna
no
be-
restaurants right there anywhere near that stretch. I mean,
I know,
literally,
but-
the garbage dump backs up to the back of my building.
But your mulch would not emanate any smell?
No, no,
Okay,
nope.
thank you.
all right, Commissioner, do you guys have any questions?
You're gonna salt in the winter, the paved areas?
Salt the paved areas?
Yeah, and the reason I'm asking, I'm just kinda questioning the taxes. I mean, I'm fine with it, but, I know it just doesn't really like salt very much, and I know as landscape supply company, you're gonna want that to look really nice.
Right.
That's a good marketing, opportunity for you, so I was just wondering if there was a way we could like maybe consider diversifying the palette a little bit, considering more salt tolerant materials and maybe, the addition of one more flowering shrub, like a spirea or something that will give you longer, color, especially in those, summer months.
Okay.
We'll take that up with our landscape architect. I don't think that'll be an issue.
Yeah. Also considering deer tolerant material.
Oh, yeah.
That's the other thing, because it's loaded with deer.
Yeah.
So taxes, usually deer won't mow off the taxes, so I know that was one of the reasons for
Yeah.
going some plant material that's not gonna be devoured every week.
Yeah, juniper would be another, that's a pretty salt tolerant evergreen, fairly, I mean, relatively speaking.
Right.
But that one might be another one, especially where you wanna do some screening of the dumpsters, you might want taller, you know, Wichita Blue or something. It was like-
Skyrocket or something like that.
Skyrockets,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Well, looking at all the comments, I mean, we haven't really talked too much about the architecture. I don't know, do we necessarily need to have a deep discussion tonight? It's
No, I think Pam's comments kind of would emulate what my comments would be as well.
Okay.
Just in terms of addressing the building architecture just in general.
However, with Brian's recommendation was a preliminary plan approval contingent on the revised plans, or contingent on revised plans that address the items noted in the report. So, I mean, I think, unless somebody has a real problem with that, I think the concept and everything will work. I think, you know, there's still some work to do, but a preliminary plan approval, I think would be appropriate here.
I'm good with that.
Okay, then, Susan, I'll make a motion for a preliminary plan approval contingent on revised plans that address the staff reports.
That address what?
The staff reports.
Staff reports.
Is there a second?
I'd second that.
Tony? Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
One silly question.
Sure, we
The
like
green
some.
roof, is it the color green that you guys don't like or she doesn't like? Because it's not like green is a make or break for me. It's not like it's, oh my gosh, it's not even a mute, it's a mute point. I just figured color was better than traditional black or brown, so that's why I figured green or blue or,
Definitely don't do blue.
no. I just birds,
That got shut down recently, in one of the other projects.
I know.
Yes, exactly.
You pay attention.
I just figured, I didn't know, that's why I didn't know if it was the green
Yeah.
of the color, and if it is, I'll just,
I don't know what Pam's true thought was behind it. It's probably just because it's a large expansive amount of the green. If it
You
were,
wanted to call Pam? Can you call Pam and talk to her?
if it were an accent
Yeah.
piece,
I think what you ought to
I
do-
think that would be fine. I
I
think
was
it's
just trying to add
more.
color instead of.
No, I
brown
don't blame you, and I
black or
appreciate that. I think if you were just to leave it as like where you have
glass.
your where you have your awnings, like if you wanted to do the accent
Do
color, I
green on
think
the awnings and then
Yeah.
metal awnings instead?
yeah, and then do
Okay.
like a black or brown or whatever color roof you wanted to do there.
She's the one that imposed
Okay.
it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no problem. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Valley Meadow Estates.
Hey, Chris.
So this is southeast of Twinsburg and Valley View.
Correct.
Okay. Well, our plan, did you guys got comments, copies of the comments?
Yes.
Okay, you see
Yes.
what's there. So I guess in his comments, trying to see if there's anything, if we need to go through them in detail. Look back at it. Okay, so ultimately, he's recommending that we continue this to another meeting because of some of these comments. There was area, confirmation of the area, I mean, that sounds like it's probably pretty easy to do.
Yeah, the first comment was regarding the deed versus the GIS acreage. And that's just a discrepancy with, the deed was based on a relatively recent survey, and it's calculated out to the center of Valley View Road, and we look in the GIS maps, that acreage stops at the right-of-way. So that's the discrepancy there. So pretty minor, something that'll be resolved when we do our final survey and platting of the subdivision.
So the next one, 20,000 square foot lots, he said there's no action item, all the proposed 19 sublots comply with the area limitation, so that's good. R1 district requires sublots to be 100 feet wide at the building setback line with 80 feet measured along the front property line. The conceptual plan appears to comply with the lot list, so good. Required setbacks are 100 feet for front, 10 for the side yard, 5 feet for the rear. Additional standards are in place for corner lots. Conceptual plan appears to comply with the standard setbacks, so that's good. Sublots 10 and 11 indicate presence of possible wetlands, and the building envelope is situated within the wetland area. He would like to see a wetland study and all necessary jurisdictional permits needed to impact these lands. Moreover, the plan identifies a riparian setback. The ordinary high water mark must be mapped to ensure the provided setback is correct. Sounds like something you probably.
Yeah, so that's in the works. The wetlands that are shown are from a preliminary assessment from our wetland consultant, HCW. And they're just getting started on the permitting process, and so there'll be more information coming as we get into the further detailed design on that.
Okay.
HGW, you say?
Yes.
That's good.
Section 1109.06 of Title I requires numerous items that need to be documented on a preliminary subdivision plat. So they're saying provide a plat in compliance with section 1109.06 of the code.
Yeah, I'll have to, I was gonna ask
Dig in.
Brian that question, but, I'll have to get with him. We looked through the code and there might be some minor things that
Okay.
just need clarified.
Section 1109.07 of Title I requires existing and proposed covenants and restrictions be provided for review. Action item, if applicable, provide existing and proposed covenants for review and approval by the commission. Does that sound?
Yeah, that's something that Dries Homes is the developer and builder, so they have some standard HOA documents, covenants that they can provide.
Okay. Compliance with Chapter 1117 of Title I is required. Provide an updated preliminary subdivision plan in compliance with Chapter 1117 of the code. Don't have that in front of me, I don't know what all those are. but-
Yeah, again, that's something I need to get a
Talk to
little more
Brian.
clarification from him.
Okay. Sidewalks, street trees, and streetlights are required pursuant to Chapter 1121 of Title I. Provide an updated plan in compliance with that. Did you, I forget. Do not have sidewalk.
We're showing sidewalk. I did see in the code where there's provisions on street trees. I think there's a certain spacing, so many per lot. Certainly can add that. And then street lights, we'll have to look at where that's appropriate, at the intersection, maybe at the end of the cul-de-sac.
City standard is one decorative colonial streetlight every 150 feet, alternating sides of the road.
Okay,
And we have a standard on that we can send you.
that would be great.
Yeah, that'll line you up with every other neighborhood in town that's been built in the last 40 years.
Open space is required pursuant to Chapter 1127 of Title I. Provide an updated plan in compliance with this.
Yeah, that was something I did want to discuss. I see that there's provisions in the code where, this being a conventional subdivision, it's not a PUD. They're relatively large lots. There's not really a obvious, desirable, usable place to carve out open space. So I do see that there's an option for an in lieu of fee to be contributed. I think it's $400 per lot, something like that. So we would ask for consideration of that option.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably something Brian would have to take a deeper look into, but if that's a provision in there, and yeah, if this is a standard, it's not a PUD.
Yeah, it's not a
common
PUD, so we're
spaces.
really, we've got to meet the 20,000 square foot lots, meet the 100-foot of width, setbacks. It just doesn't leave a whole lot of room to, and being that it's only, 19 lots, it just didn't seem to make sense to carve out a small open space block. It'd probably be better to contribute to an overall general fund where it could be used in a city park or however that money is dispersed.
Well, those are Brian's comments. I'll go to Mr. July.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman. Nice to see you guys again, by the way. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Stormwater management, you set aside an area on your preliminary plan. That's good. Thanks for doing that. I'm sure you'll provide the detailed calcs when we get to that point in the process. Number 2 was wetlands. Sounds like HGW is working on that for you. That's fantastic. They usually do a nice job. So please pass that along when you have their final report and delineation and whatever permitting is going to go along with that. So, and riparian setback, Brian already touched on that. Well, he didn't actually touch on it. His comments touched on it.
Right.
The chairman read. So, we need to stay out of the riparian setback with fill or anything else. So, the preliminary plan does not actually say public or private street on it. I believe your intention is private, and judging by the...
Well, yeah, the
Yeah.
intention was to be public street,
Okay.
and I think there was, sorry to interrupt, I just wanted to make sure to make that clear. We do want to put in a public street. Now, the pavement width, I think in the code it says 27. I was just looking around at different communities in Macedonia, and I saw a lot of what appear to be 24, 25.
Those are all private.
And then there are some that are 27. I mean, is that a hard and fast rule? If it's a public street, it's gotta be
Yes, it
27
is.
feet, or we'd have to ask for a
27.
variance
Yeah.
for something less? Okay.
Okay. Yeah, when we spoke before, I thought that you guys had indicated that it would be a private
Yeah, that's what I
road.
thought too, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
Has that
something,
changed?
is that an option that we could consider? You know, obviously, the burden to the HOA is the perpetual maintenance of all
on the
that.
road.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, could it be considered? Yeah, I guess it could be. Like you say, that's a little different than when the four of us had previously met, so sorry you caught me off guard there a little bit. I suppose it could be considered.
I'm sorry,
I
you may,
guess-
you may have answered this already, but would that have to go through a variance request?
If you wanted to build the road less than 27 feet in width as a public road,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it could be. I go to BZA, although I've never seen or heard such of a thing. I mean, it's directly described
Okay.
in the code, and I don't want to speak for the BZA members, but I doubt that anybody would be supportive of such a request. There's no hardship, you know what I mean?
Right. But if it's a private street,
Private streets, we have traditionally allowed them to be more narrow.
okay.
Then
Now
you're
would-
right, there's lots that are 24 or 25 feet wide out there.
Being if it is a public street, if that's what we decide to go with,
Mhm.
are sidewalks required on both sides of the
Yes.
street?
Mhm.
Both sides, okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So I would say probably the best thing to do is on your next submittal, make it very clear
Sure.
what you guys are intending. You know, and then we can react from there, Brian and myself and Nino, so. Okay. Concrete pavement, it looks like is what you're proposing, 7 inches on top of 4 inches of stone, please, standard roll curve. Your plan indicates sidewalk on both sides of the road, right now, so that's a good thing. You show a mailbox kiosk, which is indicative of a private road. I don't know that we have any public roads in town with a mailbox kiosk, so that's another thing that you'll have to work through here.
Yeah, that's what we've run into in communities in
Okay.
recent years, is that the post office does not want to have individual mailboxes, but we'll, you know, we're happy to comply with whatever the,
Yeah, I'm
post
just going
office
by
wants.
what we have around town, and there are a number of communities that have the kiosk, and they're all private roads, and all of the public streets have individual mailbox. So, apparently that's how the post office has asked for it to be.
yeah, that's what they're pushing. It wasn't really, you know, this is what we want, this is just
Yeah.
in anticipation of what they're going to ask for.
Okay. All right, so moving along, the Valley View frontage, we would need curb and sidewalk installed along the Valley View frontage. You have significant development frontage along Valley View. That would be consistent with other similar subdivisions in town. I don't think we need it on the Twinsburg Road frontage, because you only have just 100 feet of frontage there, and it doesn't really connect to anything. It's so minor, it's hardly worth it. We also would ask for a deceleration lane on Valley View Road, again, being consistent with really all other subdivisions in the neighborhood.
I guess
Or
that
in the
was
city.
one item we wanted to discuss a little bit,
Yeah.
is just concerned about the cost and
Mhm.
absorbing that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a large subdivision.
Mhm.
So is there something that triggers, for example, the decel lane? I mean, is that based on, is that just something you require
It's
on
been
all developments or
city
number of
standard
lots?
for
or-
decades, as far as
Okay.
I can tell. Every neighborhood constructed in the last 30 or 40 years really has them, so my neighborhood does. There's probably 20 or 30 examples out there. Christine's nodding her head, so.
So is there specifics on that? I mean, is that something, as far as, are we talking about like a decel
Yeah,
lane in the northbound traffic?
It would
or-
be just for northbound traffic,
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
So south of our intersection, we'd have
You'd
some
have-
widening for a decel lane?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct, yes.
Are there any specifics on the length of the stacking or taper?
There really
Okay.
isn't stacking, you know, because it's just people making a right-hand turn, but, you know, they're all one car width wide, so they're all, you know, 11 feet, or one lane wide, I should say. So they're all 11 feet wide and, you know, they're 150 feet long, that's it.
Okay. And then the sidewalks and the curbing, widening along, I don't know, we're talking about curbing, I guess. Is that because we have frontage lots? If the frontage lots would go away, would that requirement also, would the recommendation change?
If you had no frontage lots,
Correct. If we just had corner lots.
yeah, I'm not sure it would go away. Again, keeping consistent with other developments in town.
So,
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask about the decel lane again, so, there's no, like, trigger that you look for on, you know,
No,
every
it's-
development has a decel lane?
Yeah, they all do, because they're all built off of what we'll call legacy roads or main roads or old county routes, you know, roads that, you know, have 2, 3, 4, 5,000 cars a day on it, whatever. So it's long since been the city standard. And I apologize, that was the one thing that we didn't discuss when we previously met. I didn't think of it until later. But, you know, you go on Google Earth and look around, you'll see
Yeah.
20 or 30 of them all around town, so. Actually, back in the day, they used to require decel and acceleration lane. In my opinion, the acceleration lane isn't really.
I saw that when I was studying. I didn't want
So
to
you
bring it
did,
up.
yeah.
I'll offer that.
My opinion is the acceleration lane is not really necessary because I don't want people to pull out of your neighborhood into the acceleration lane and then have to make a technique where they're looking backwards over their shoulder to try to merge onto traffic.
Leave the stop sign and stop.
Yeah, come up to the stop sign and stop, look to your left and pull out, so. So the acceleration lane, we're willing to do away with that, but the decel is it's a safety feature, so.
Okay.
Yeah, you were doing your homework, huh?
Trying to.
That's good. Where'd I leave off here?
I
So,
think you're on probably.
I'm on 8th, I believe, so we have a standard development agreement. Law director will guide us through that process. We use it for every residential neighborhood. He'll provide you with that document. Same thing with stormwater inspection and maintenance agreement, you know, long-term, we have a standard agreement for that. So as we get to that point in the process, we'll provide you with that document. Basically, you promise to inspect the detention pond every year, and if something goes wrong, it gets clogged or silted up, or something falls apart, you gotta fix it, so. Cul-de-sac, looks like it has a 43-foot radius. I'll leave that up to fire to determine if that's enough. I don't want to step on your toes, Rich. Just want to make sure you got
I've
enough.
got to research the new truck.
Oh, there you go. So-
Yeah, I mean, we pulled that from the city code.
Okay.
You know, I know
Okay.
different municipalities, I've seen 43, I've seen 50, I've seen 46.
All right, it was 50.
43 is what's on our plan.
What's on the plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's per the city's code. I don't think we have an objection if we have to make it slightly larger, as long as it doesn't impact our layout and our lots.
All right.
But we were just pulling that directly from the code.
Okay. And is there an island in the middle of the cul-de-sac?
Yes.
All right, so I don't know if that affects you too, so.
Yeah, and that, I think that was also spelled out in the code, the radius of the
You have a
island.
21-foot radius on the island. That seems to
Right.
be an exact number, like.
Yeah.
you pulled it from
So
somewhere.
we just pulled that from the city code, but like I said, I don't think there's any objection to making a slight adjustment to those numbers if it helps you out, as long as it doesn't impact our, you know, what we're trying to do.
All right, sanitary permitting is through the county. Water's through Cleveland Water, I think you already know that.
Yep.
And then I guess the last thing I'll say is the copy of the preliminary plan we provided is a little bit fuzzy. It's hard to read some of the numbers on here.
Contour lines, I'm assuming?
Contour lines
Yeah, we can-
especially are really bad, so just give us a nice clean copy, please.
Yeah, I don't know how, if this was a copy of a copy, but we'll
That's
do-
exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like it's a third generation scan or something, yeah, so.
Yeah.
Got it saved down to a smaller file size, who knows what happened.
We can improve that.
Yeah, that's an easy one, so, that's what I have.
I did have a couple questions. You know, I was gonna ask Brian this, but, the length of the cul-de-sac, it's 800 feet roughly. Now, in the code, it specifies 600 feet, but then there's a provision that allows the planning commission to approve up to 1,500, is that correct?
Yeah, I think I kind of recall that. I think
Yeah, we went
looked
through
at
it
that
just
before.
recently
Yeah.
for the.
I imagine it's gotta
development
come up
across
quite
the
a bit.
street.
Yeah, for Copeland next door.
So I just wanna just make sure that there's no issue with,
Yeah, the fact that he didn't bring it up makes you think that he was thinking we'd be okay, you know, especially if it's only 800 feet, a
Yeah.
couple hundred feet past, and we just did it for across the street, but we probably need to recognize that, you know, when we eventually ultimately pass this.
Yeah, Chairman, that is generally how it's gone a couple times in the past, and I think the commission with some input from fire have worked through that, because it's really a fire safety
Yeah.
is the reason that that's in the code. right?
Yeah, it's basically a response purposes.
Yeah.
I will get back to you this week on that.
okay?
Because if you found it in our codes, it was written for a specific truck. I gotta figure out which truck that was.
Maybe a truck or have you.
It was the truck you guys had in like 1972 or something.
Yeah. Ripley was driving it.
The crank in front.
I mean, other than that, I mean, we're really looking for some input from we obviously understand and recognize that the projects will be tabled, but we really would just like some input on the layout, the proposed development. If there's any questions about the type of homes, the size.
What's the proposed size? What is
The proposed
the
size of the homes.
Yeah.
So I brought copies here. This one is approximately 2,700 square feet.
Okay.
And they'll range from there up to, well over 3,000.
Can I have that so I can give it to our architectural?
Yeah, Chairman, there appears to be basically two general sizes. One is a home that's 70 by 73 feet, so that's a pretty good size.
Yeah.
And then a smaller model, I guess, that's 60 by 60, which still is pretty decent.
Yeah, let me just clarify. I mean, these are the footprint sizes, and these are probably the absolute maximum. It has all the possible
Yes.
extensions and decks and patios, so it's probably a little misleading that I don't think the homes will actually be that large. It's just the envelope. The 70 by 73 fits everything you could possibly ask
As far as
on a certain model. In some of the lots, because of the setbacks, we just don't have that much room to work with.
I personally like how you guys have made the lots a little bit bigger and not just trying to jam a bunch of houses right on top of each other. I feel like it is, they could potentially be as large as you're showing, but I feel like they're nicely laid out and enough breathing room. I did have one question. So I guess two of the houses, it looks like they're gonna be accessible directly off of Valley View. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. That was my understanding of it based on like where you had the 100-foot setback, but I just wanted to confirm that.
Yeah, lots 2 and 19 would
Yeah.
front on Valley View, and then
The
we
one's
have
on Twinsburg. I
lot
did
number
see
1
that.
is off of Twinsburg.
Okay.
Just, we tried to come up with the best layout, the way the property's configured, and to maximize the property. It makes sense to have a couple frontage lots. And being in the conventional zoning versus, we have to meet all the minimum, lot sizes and setbacks, where if it were a PUD, you might have a little more flexibility, but we just don't really have the acreage. It's not the scale of development that qualifies for a PUD.
Right.
Because remember, Koblenz is coming off of Twinsburg, right? He's not-
Yes.
Or,
They
yeah,
are.
Twinsburg,
Yeah,
he's
they're
not coming
coming
off of Ballard.
correct,
Okay.
they're
He
not
was
anymore.
originally, I think, proposed.
He
I
was
worried about
proposing
the-
2 access points.
Yeah.
And then in his most recent submittal, he got rid of the Valley View access.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about anything
Just
lining
the
up.
property directly across from you guys, it's on the other side,
Southwest corner.
southwest corner.
Yeah, I did see that preliminary plan in the agenda on the website. Is that project moving forward, or do you have any idea?
Yeah, he was just in,
We gave it,
2 months ago?
yeah, we gave it preliminary.
So it has preliminary approval?
Yeah, it has at least preliminary.
I don't think it was
Yeah.
final yet. I
I
think it was just preliminary, yes, because he didn't have his actual boundary surveys and all that worked out, but we did give him preliminary.
Yeah, so he's maybe a.
And he's a
month ahead or something
PUD
like
too.
that.
Right.
Yeah, he is PUD.
I think I had any other questions about it. You guys?
Looks nice.
you think there's-
No, I don't have any, no. Pretty
All
clear.
right, well, you know, with the things that are left open and at Brian's recommendation, I'm gonna recommend, continuing this is the next month, is that?
Yeah.
I know that's Friday deadline.
That's
September.
probably gonna be challenging to
So maybe we
meet that deadline, because I still need to talk to Brian, and
yeah,
I know he's
his daytime is kind of off limits.
right.
Yeah.
So that's been challenging.
Yeah.
So I just don't, I
Might be
don't
tough to.
see how we're gonna make the Friday deadline.
Okay.
So we're probably looking at the January meeting.
Okay, well,
January, yeah.
well, let's continue this to the January meeting.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Be nice. Showing this development.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And I'll find out where that ordinance came from
Okay,
and get back to you.
great.
Last one.
No, I think yeah, this is the one that need for Brian. Time with
Cold too?
I'm freezing.
Let's spend 5 minutes now and see. I don't know if
Are we gonna?
So the next one, I don't know, are we talking about this one?
The
or-
next one, yeah, it just, Chris is not gonna be here. It just that, we talked about having, 2 posts with a chain and a sign there. We originally thought about wooden posts. I think the fire department is, in speaking to the fire chief, he wasn't too keen about that, so he was asking for some metal posts there. And if you look at your drawing, these are the posts that Mr. Koblenz is agreed to install with a chain across, and with a sign that would say, not the no parking, but just emergency vehicles only, written on both sides. And I think he would agree to do this, and I think the fire chief is okay with that also.
No.
Oh,
Get my email?
No, or maybe I didn't look at it, I don't know what difference it is.
All right, no. His idea of the 2 posts with a chain, that chain's gonna start leaving rust marks in the drive by 6 weeks. There's a couple samples of other things that are used in town. Be better off, and you can give it more of a Western Reserve look than you could a chain. I brought these copies because I did not get a chance to send it to Koblenz yet. But that's the Ohio Revised Code is on the front of it.
So is what he's proposing with the bollard not what you want to see? Okay.
I don't think the people that live next door to it want to see that either.
Well, the last staff meeting, I gave a drawing to the chief, the fire chief, and he said he was okay with that.
Oh,
If you're not, that's okay.
I will, he didn't talk to me about it.
Seems like, there's a.
He didn't talk to me
We can
about
bring it
it.
up at the next one if you guys want to do a little
Yeah.
more internal
It's-
discussion.
My personal opinion is I feel these are better than the chain, so I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I
that
agree.
you guys discussed. I feel like that is a way better solution than the chain, because that chain was gonna get drove right through.
What are those permanent or what
I couldn't, that's what I was trying to look at
Or is that what
earlier.
he's?
Well,
What's the hook
that's
to
just
change
a
to?
sample of the posts, that's not like what he's necessarily, but I think it's those particular posts, he's saying, 2 of them, probably as tight as you can go with leaving you some room for the truck to get through, and then a chain, you guys have to go out and unlock
Oh,
the chain.
there would be a chain too?
With, yeah, the posts,
Oh.
I think is that what you're saying, yeah, those are the posts, but
I
not that
suggested the
arrangement.
gate, I showed a picture of the
Yeah.
gate, and the gate could not be done because it has to span across a real wide road, and it would not be able, the post would not be able to hold the weight to do that.
Is there,
They have to be
this
embedded
might
with the foundation.
be problematic for you guys, but I'm gonna just ask the question, is there a way to put a bollard in like this that you guys have a key that you remove and you can just pull it out? I mean, I know that's additional time and stuff like that. I just feel like either we're gonna end up with a fence that you guys are gonna have to use a key for, or a chain that's gonna go across, it's gonna get broken and look crappy after a while.
Yeah, the
or
chain itself, it's
bollards.
gonna be minimum visibility
Yeah, it's,
any given time of day, but,
You
you
need a
know,
lock for that.
a gate, we have locks. We have locks,
Yeah.
but, I mean, you can do it 2 pieces, make it fit right.
yeah, I was just thinking like even if yeah, I mean, I'm okay with something like this if there's gates, if that's what everybody else wants, or even if there was one bollard in the middle that just had to be removed, but you guys could get through where there's 2
Well, that's what
others
was there
on each
now,
side.
and that's already broken.
An actual bollard like that?
Not like that, it's
Oh, okay.
smaller,
Oh, yeah.
and it folds down in half, but yeah.
I guess, do you guys wanna, think you need to bring it up again with the chief?
I'm done with this. I'm gonna let him handle it from now on, because I'm confused here. I'm putting between 2 people, one says one thing, one says the other, and you know what, I just, it's up to you, you bring it up to the next meeting and figure out what you want done, because, again, I brought it up to the council meeting, Joe was here, the chief said it was okay, he would, you know, he looked at the drawing and he said he would approve this, now something has changed, so.
No, he didn't pass that information on.
No, I'm sorry, you guys don't communicate, I have nothing to do with that.
Well, while we give it a chance to circle back, let's talk about
Okay.
it next time or something, see if there's a final decision.
But
And
the issue is that there is about $24,000 that he wants back because he's completed with all the exterior work, with all the common areas. And he needs to get this money back by the end of the year, so he was gonna do this, then everything will be complete and it will be refunded the money. Now, this is gonna throw a monkey wrench into that.
How much is it gonna cost to put the bollards in
Well,
and the fence or something?
he already spent $10,000 because he did what was approved before, which was those 2 things that really not doing anything.
Right.
So after that, I told him to do something temporary, to put 2 stones on each side, and he did that. Then I said, well, you gotta do something more permanent, and he said, okay, what do you want? So I told him, you know, we agreed to this, and now I gotta go back to him. I says, no, that's not gonna work anymore. I mean,
Trevor, was Chris, I can't remember if he came in late, did he buy off somebody, or did he finish it? Did put
He
the
took
road
it
in?
over from Trip Morris.
And who had it when they put the road in?
Oh, it was probably Chris. I don't think Trip Morris.
Because my recollection and Brian's recollection.
You mean the access, the emergency
The
access?
emergency access.
Yeah, that's newer.
Yes, that went in with
That's
the
newer.
last phase, which.
I'm not sure how
Chris
it got
Copeland's
billed as a full-blown road, because I swear Brian swears that we approved it as permeable pavers, that the fire truck that would handle the fire truck.
Yeah, there was
But
originally
grass
talk
would
of
go
that, and I
through.
think if I recall, Fire, and I kind of agree with you, was probably not too thrilled about it, because how do you plow it in the winter, and how does it get maintained, you know, especially when it's 400 feet long or whatever.
Well,
maybe
the road
that's-
is not being plowed anyway. I mean, that road from the gate on
Oh, yeah.
Isabel, it's never gonna be
Yeah.
plowed, so.
Because the bollards be in the way.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. And the way you put those there, it's just gonna block that even worse.
Even if the
Yeah,
gas-
but I guess how we got to this point, you know, yeah, here we are.
I will talk to the chief in the morning and I will get back to you,
Don't get back to me, get back to them,
get back to them.
yeah.
I guess if the chief says what you've got on there, I mean, I don't know.
Where did this come from? Is this something you came up with, or the chief gave you this?
That's what I've been working on.
Oh, okay, so you came up with this, okay.
That's the Ohio Revised Code.
Okay.
And then there's samples of other places in town that the gates are already being used.
And it works out okay for you guys to get access through those.
We can put our own lock on it.
But, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you haven't had trouble with, oh, shoot, the thing's rusted out, now I can't swing the gate, or it's, something's bent, they don't open.
Not that any that we really use. I mean, the chances of using this one once every 15, 20 years,
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be a neighborhood aesthetic thing more than it's gonna be a useful gate.
And I guess, was there, the big thing against the chain is, you know, it's gonna look bad, or what was, I'm trying to remember.
It's just gonna, people are just gonna go right through it. I think
Go
no
right
matter
through
what
it.
you do, I think it's just gonna get plowed right through. The bollards didn't even stop people.
People go through anything.
If they wanted to, bad enough. I mean, and this is the residents that do not want full access from one to the other. Is that what?
That's,
Supposedly the
people
complaints
on
are from-
Isabel, they're complaining, they've been complaining to the mayor, they've been complaining to council because they have traffic going by there. Well, at one time it was a cul-de-sac, they
Got it.
couldn't go through, now it's like, you know, an open,
It's a thoroughfare.
everybody
Okay.
goes through. And they complained to the mayor, so the mayor asked me to do something about it, and I tried to figure out I spent so much time on this, trying to figure out who's responsible for that, because I went to the association and says, well, we own that, but we can't do anything now because it's really under construction. So even though we own it, we have no right to do anything. Chris Koblenz is doing the project, he's the one who's got to, you know, take care of this.
Got it.
So when Chris said, I went to the planning commission, we agreed on some, I did what the planning commission wanted, I'm done with this. So I said, okay, I said, can you please do something, at least temporarily until, because, you know, everybody was complaining. The mayor was getting on the law director was getting on my case. So we finally decided to put 2 boulders on one side and to at least temporarily stop, you know, the traffic from going through. In the meantime, I've been working with everybody trying to figure out what is a more of a permanent solution. And we came with the 2 posts, which Chris agreed to do. He says, I already spent $10,000, but I'm willing to put 2 wooden posts. So he said, okay. Then I came to this commission last time, and you guys told me that wooden posts were, you know, from what I understood, they weren't really, you know, you weren't too keen about that. So I said, can you put a metal post? He said, okay, I'll put a metal post. Now, you know, I need to go back to him and say they don't want posts either. You got to do something else. I mean,
I don't have a problem with the posts. I think the posts are a good idea. I think that's gonna be the only way you are gonna stop a car from going through there is going to be a post. It just comes
I
down
don't
to.
think we should put him to any more money.
How does
You know?
the fire truck
Wonder how
get
much
through there?
money he's spending.
I think is the biggest.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said, I have no issue with the posts, these types of posts whatsoever. I think it's just the bigger concern comes down to how does the fire department get through there?
Well,
That's-
there's gonna be a lock and the key, and all the department are gonna be given a key.
Yeah.
He's gonna be getting a key, the police department's gonna get a key, the service department gonna get a key.
I think that's, personally, I think that's the best way to go. I don't think you're gonna stop it any other way.
But I think when you're saying posts, we're talking 2 posts with a chain, or 2 posts with a gate?
2 posts with a gate, I think is what they're talking about.
No.
Right.
That's what did the?
No, the chain, he's back there to the posts. Oh, they told me that.
He said he already got the okay to go with the chain.
I got you. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking
No,
posts and
no,
that.
chain.
Okay.
the chain.
How much would the gate cost?
I have no idea.
I mean, you know, it'd be ridiculous. He's
Well,
trying to get
the
$24,000.
problem said that that road is 20-some feet wide.
Right.
And if you put, I think Chris made the phone call already, I don't know who he called, but he said, in order for you to support all that weight, you have to put a really big post, it's gotta go really down into that. And he said, and eventually it's gonna, the weight is just gonna lean and stuff. He
It's
said-
gonna rust at the bottom, it's gonna break.
I think
yeah.
the chain is
So,
the cheapest
you know,
way.
He said he was not gonna do that.
What if we approved 2 posts and a chain contingent on confirmation that it's acceptable to the fire chief?
You already said that.
But I guess, did he say that's okay, or did he say the chain was not okay? Because
This was my opinion, this is what I brought here.
right. But I guess, you
But
showed that, did you show that
It
to
was
the
already,
chief?
no, I have not seen them.
Okay.
Is the chain okay with you?
I don't like it.
I know, but we're putting the developer to all this expense.
But that's what he signed up
It's not that much of an expense for
A gate.
some kind of barrier to keep traffic from going through. Whether it be a chain is gonna be harder to see, cause more damage to any vehicle that's gonna hit it.
Why would they hit it? If a yellow chain, I've seen them all over the place.
Why do they go through it now?
Rock and roll bill.
Why do they go through it now? I mean, there was a yellow ballard in the middle of it.
Is there a chain over there now?
Oh, there's no chain over there. There's rocks over there now.
He's already done this, and we already approved it. I don't know why we're still fiddling around with it.
because the neighbors are complaining about it. So we have to.
They don't like the chain?
No, they didn't like what was done because it hasn't worked.
A couple of things, they live on a public road, so you
Correct.
can't complain about traffic being on your road.
I agree.
I feel for them a little bit, because everybody'd like to have less traffic, but you do live on a public road. Granted, they're going to some private thing they're not supposed to be driving on, but they're on a public road. You can't, there's nothing wrong with what people are doing up until that point. When they
Until they cross
into-
onto the private
Yeah.
property.
That's too, that could be ticketing, it'd be nice to know, is it consistent, is it UPS trucks all day? Or is it somebody who lives in there who knows they can come in the back way and they do it all the time? It'd be awesome if somebody could.
There's
could nail somebody.
landscapers, there's UPS trucks, there's Amazon trucks, they're all going by there now. Because, I don't know if probably they put in a GPS and
Yeah.
GPS.
That's what happens, the
allows-
navigation apps pick up on
They
it.
probably are the ones that have just gone through it and caused the damage, and now everybody else just drives through it. I mean, it's probably, I can't imagine somebody with their own personal vehicle, could be wrong, would drive through something like that. It was probably one of the trucks did it, kept going, and it
But there's
became a
also,
thoroughfare.
and there's also not any do not enter
Yeah.
signs.
One time a GPS sent me to a cemetery and I don't belong here yet.
Did you?
Not yet. A little too early.
I know if Chris is trying to get this finished by the end of the year, he is willing to do the cheaper thing. I don't know how much more we can ask him to do.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Let's go with the 2 posts in the chain, unless if somebody talks to factory and he says, no way, I can't, and it can't just be because I guess what'll look better or whatever, I mean,
Well, let's do this.
They're all gonna serve the
Let's do
purpose.
this. You talk to the chief tomorrow, okay? And, and then, you guys are okay with the chain and the post if the chief says okay?
If that's what the chief
Okay.
says, then yeah, I'm
So
good
if
with
the
that.
chief says it's okay with that, then you let him know and then we're good to go. Let me know when we're good to go. If not, then you guys are on your
because you
own.
don't need necessarily an official motion or anything from us to do
No,
this.
no,
I think so.
just
So I think
yeah.
if the chief could find that acceptable, then if he really says no, then I guess it's back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
And I don't know if
If he
there's,
says no, it's back to the chain.
I guess if he says no to the chain, it's back to the drawing board to see if,
Yeah.
because nobody's agreed to pay for that.
Well, this wasn't brought to anybody's attention, so.
Yeah, so I guess, maybe show them that, but say, hey, is the chain acceptable? Which it sounds like Nino's kind of
The
asking
chief
that
has
already.
the same drawing that what do you have?
Okay.
I gave it to him, and I asked him if this was okay, and he said yes.
And I'm good with it,
Pardon me?
and I'm fine.
going on. Thank you.
All right. Motion to adjourn? Second.
I'll second.
Chris, all in favor?